respond? Am I audible? Okay. Today we shall start a new topic, and that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Your class 12, second chapter. Okay, this is the repeater batch, and I suppose you all must be aware of the topic, right? Now, prior going to the topic, I want to know, can anyone here in short describe me what is double fertilization? Anyone? Priyanka, let's start with you. Can you describe me what is double fertilization? Please make the class interactive, students. Please make it interactive. Afterwards, we will go to the question. Okay, the page is visible to you, everyone? Anyone? I want a gist of the topic. Please be free and talk. Sipali, Mahendra, no one? Okay. Then before entering into that, we shall discuss a brief about it. First, see your sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and we are talking about. Please ignore the red thing. We are talking about double fertilization. Here, you know that there is a gamete egg and there is a gamete sperm. We have the egg and the sperm. What is the ploidy of these two? Can anyone tell me what is the ploidy of these two gametes? There are two different types of cells. One you call it as the somatic cells, another you call it as the germ cells. Okay. So please tell me, what do you mean by these two? What is somatic cell and what is germ cell? Somatic cells. Okay, this is the first class. You are not interacting, but hence onwards, I want you to interact with me because I am not teaching to myself. Okay. So see, somatic cells means except egg and sperm, except your egg and sperm, any other cell of your body refers to the somatic cells. Somatic functions, you might have come across this term, somatic functions. Somatic functions means except reproduction, any other metabolic activities that is occurring in your body, that is called as your somatic functions. Like your heart is beating, your muscles are building up, your bone cells are being destroyed with age. So all these are called as your somatic functions. So like I said, egg and sperm ko chhod ke the rest everything are your somatic cells. So now can you give me certain examples? Certain examples, somatic functions, somatic cells. You have your heart cells. What do we call the heart cell as? Like I said last class, biology is all about terminology. So heart is the formal term that we use. But what is the specific term we use the heart cells to describe? We call it as the cardiocytes. Clear? Remember, the word cardio is associated with the heart cells. Next, we have the bone cells, and these are called as the osteocytes. Osteo. Okay. So likewise, heart, bone, muscle, your skin, any type of cell that is present in your body, all we categorize it under one, and that is called as the somatic cells. Rest two are called as your germ cells, and that is the egg and the sperm. Okay. Now, I want to know what is the difference in the ploidy of these two. I am using the term ploidy. What is ploidy? What do you think is ploidy? You know, you have heard of it. You already know about it. You are just, this is just a generalized term. You have heard of haploid, then there is diploid. And how do you represent haploid? As N, right? And how do you represent diploid? As 2N, right? This is how you represent. But primarily, what do you exactly mean by this N and 2N? What is this haploid and diploid? N represents the number of set of chromosomes present in an organism. Now, what do you mean by that? Anyone, please respond. Devasmita. Devasmita, you were responding last class. No? See, let us take the example of humans. Okay, first, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. We can write it as 46, but 46 number of chromosomes present. But everywhere in books and journals, you will find that they basically write 23 pairs of chromosomes. Now, why 23 pairs? Because let us arrange this in 23 pairs. This is first pair, second pair, third pair, fourth pair, and likewise we have the 23 pairs. Now, this means that out of these pairs, one set comes from the egg, that is the mother, and another set comes from the sperm, that is the father. When egg and sperm fuse, you get what? Zygote. Now, this zygote grows into embryo, right? Now, what is the difference between the zygote and the embryo? There must be a difference. What is the difference between the zygote and embryo? This is a very basic question. Because, see, I want to know where do you stand. Accordingly, I will be putting forward the questions to discuss with you. Questions are categorized into easy, medium, and difficult. So I need to know if your basics are clear or not. If they are clear, then I'll be directly shifting to the question bank. Please tell me if you don't want the theory, slight introduction of the theory, then I will simply jump to the question bank. Okay. So what is the difference between zygote and embryo? Anyone? No one? Zygote is unicellular. Yes? Yes? Anyone? Someone is speaking? Always remember, zygote is your unicellular, whereas your embryo is multicellular. So whenever the zygote starts dividing, from the first round of division, we say the embryo development is taking place. Okay. So now here the word, come back to plants. Now here in plants, we have the word double fertilization. So double means twice. So fertilization, this egg and sperm meeting, we call it as the fertilization. So two types of fertilizations are being occurring in plants, and that is why we use the term as double fertilization. Okay. Now, in plants, we know that there are two sperms. Yes. Someone said anything? One mute yourself. Noise is coming.
ତମେ ରଖିଥିଲା ଆଉ ତମେ ନା ସେଟା ଆମର ତମର କଣ ପାଟି ତା ଆଜିରେ କହିଲା କଥା ଆଉ କଣ
Please check. Noise is coming. Please mute yourself, student. This is a proper class. You are all now grown-ups. You will be medicals. Come on, be responsible.
ये कोविड रे किए फटिले नहीं से देबे हो
Okay. I have an entrance question for you. This comes many times in your entrance. In angiosperms are your flowering plants. So there are two sperms. Okay. Now tell me, generally these sperms are motile in nature. Whenever, like human, you take for example, what do we have? We have a head, we have a middle piece, and we have a tail. Tail is for the motility, right? Wherever there is tail means here it is the flagella. So it is for motility. Now my question to you is, suppose in angiosperms, the male gametes are option A, motile, option B, non-motile, option C, flagellated, या option D, none of this. Tell me, which one shall you pick? In angiosperms, the male gametes are your sperms. So these are motile, non-motile, flagellated, or none of this. Tell me, who can answer? Priyanka, Chintu, Lisa Rani, you all were answering last class. Now what happened? This is not at all a difficult chapter, students. This is a very easy chapter to start with. And this is not the chapter I will restrict with. I will also talk about your 11th class, 3rd chapter, alternation of generation. Together I shall discuss everything. Okay, so please tell me what options. Yes, speak up. Who is speaking?
Non-motile.
Okay, you are Debasvita, you are opting for the term motile. This is your answer? Is this your answer? Motile?
Option B, non-motile.
Option B. Okay, you are picking for the no. Yes, and this is the correct answer. Please note, students, this is the correct answer. Point to remember, in angiosperms, the male gametes are non-motile. So I can conclude that they do not have flagella. If flagella is there, then motility is there. If flagella is not there, then no motility is there. Right? Okay. So the two sperms, these are non-motile in nature. This is the first part that we discussed. You can make a point and write it down. In angiosperms, the male gametes are non-motile. Now, how many are produced? We know that two sperms are produced in flowers. Out of these two, one fuses with the egg and another fuses with the dash. What shall I write here? You are not answering. That means I will understand that you are aware of the topic. So tell me, another first sperm fuses with the egg and another sperm fuses with the secondary nucleus. Okay. Then what is the result of this? One sperm and egg will produce a normal zygote. In any organism, they always produce the zygote. But another sperm and secondary nucleus, what shall they produce? Again, they must be done because I guess no one else is responding. So, what shall it produce? Secondary nucleus, endosperm. Have you not heard of it? Endosperm. What is the ploidy? What is the ploidy of the zygote? Sperm is N, egg is N, zygote is 2N. Here, sperm is N, secondary nucleus is, secondary nucleus means 2 nucleus. This is 2N. So endosperm ploidy is 3N. So endosperm is diploid in nature. Clear? Everyone clear? This is what you mean by double fertilization, right? So you could recall the topic. Now, let me move back to this. Okay. Let us answer the first question, everyone. Is it visible to you or I should zoom more? First question. The entry of pollen tube through micropyle is chalazogamy, mesogamy, porogamy, pseudogamy. What do you understand?
Ma'am, chalazogamy.
Okay, you're saying chalazogamy. First define chalazogamy then. We shall not be just picking out the answers. We shall be picking out the answer and also rejecting which are not. Remember, this entrance is a rejection process. It is not a selection process. So we shall be rejecting all the answers. And on what basis are you rejecting? So you gave me the answer chalazogamy, right? So at least define what is chalazogamy. What is chalaza? Now, please note down the question, everyone. I shall switch over to the whiteboard. I have 4 terms, okay? Chalazogamy, mesogamy, porogamy, and pseudogamy. I have 4 terms. Now there is pollen tube and micropyle. So this is basically micropyle belongs to what structure? What is the organ with of whose it is a part? Micropyle refers to making the class very boring, students. Ovule or not? Micropyle refers to the word ovule. Refers to the organ ovule. What is the ovule? You have gynoecium, which is the female reproductive organ. Gynoecium, and its individual units are called carpels or pistils. Right? Now, this pistil or carpel that is composed of 3 parts. What are they? One is your stalk. This is your stigma. Then this long elongated stalk-like structure. This is your style. And then this is ovary. The pollen lands here. This orange one is the pollen. This lands here. This is your stigma. This is your style, and this is your ovary. Inside the ovary, what we have? This structure. This is your Ovule. Inside the ovary we have the ovule. Now that ovule I have zoomed here. I have drawn the enlarged image of it. Okay. Now let us see the structure of the ovule. Ovules in your NCERT book you have read, these are integumented. There's a term. We call them as integumented. Ovules are integumented. What do you mean by this? What is integument? What do you understand by this integument? Anyone? Boys? Anyone? Ashirvad? Tanmay? Himadri? Yes, speak up. Speak up. Who is speaking? Chintu, are you speaking? Speak up. What shall I say is the structure? Do you mean by the word integument? You also have the integuments. You have a proper. Acha, before entering further into this, can you tell me how many systems are present in your body? Like example, you have digestive system, you have respiratory system. So in humans, how many total systems are present? Total systems. I'm just talking basics. Anyone? How many systems are present in your body? Your first system is called as your integumentary system. First system. An integumentary system is composed of the largest organ of your body, and that is called as, which is the largest organ of your body?
Skin.
Very good. Okay. It is your skin. So whatever is covering you are having, this your body covering, skin, hair, nails, all these belong to your integumentary system. So integument means covering. The word integument means cover, right? So I am saying the ovule is integumentary. That means the ovule is having coverings. And how many coverings?
11.
Coverings. What happened? The ovule has 2 coverings, and we call them as what we call them as? First covering is called as your outer integument, and the inner covering is called as your inner integument, right? I haven't drawn a continuous covering. See, if I had drawn it like this, if this is the ovule and this is the first covering and this is the second covering. Difference between these two is that this covering is continuous. As you can see, there is no gap. Both the coverings are continuous. But in angiosperms, the coverings are never continuous. There is always a slight opening to it. So this is a discontinuous integument. And note here, again an entrance question. Ovules are, I'm writing up questions in this page. I'm giving you the options. Question is, ovules are unitegmic. See, from one question, how many questions are we covering? Unitegmic, bitegmic, ategmic, yeah, none of this. This is the first question. Ovules are unitechnic, bitechnic, atechnic, then this. Chintu, try again. Yes, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about the systems. But as of now, try to answer this question. Ovules are unitechnic, bitechnic, atechnic, and none of this. These are new terms for you. You haven't heard of these terms? Have you or not? Have you heard of this term or not? No. Like I said, integuments. Integuments, right? So, from this integument word, these three words have been derived. Okay. Now, uni means one. So, if there is one covering, then that is unitechnic. Bi means two. If there are two coverings, then there is then it is bitechnic. And what will be this? You tell me. I give you two. And what shall you understand by this? Atechnic. A means zero. The word A is used to denote absence of something, right? So if there are no coverings, no integuments present, then that is atechnic. So correct answer will be first uni by A. Correct answer will be
Bitechnic.
bitechnic. Okay.
Lack of integument.
Yeah. Atechnic is your lack of integument. But your correct answer here is your bitechnic. Because we saw here that the ovules are having two integuments. One is the outer integument, another is the inner integument. Clear? Now, there is an opening and we call this region as, this is the region. And you name me this region. What is the importance of this region and what is the name of this region? What happens if this region, if your ovules are continuous, then will it be good or bad? One thing I want to tell you, your CBSE is basically whatever is present or whatever is happening that you are just studying. But your entrance is purely analysis. So you have to analyze the structure. Earlier you might have just by hearted the structure of the ovule, but now I want you to analyze the structure of the ovule. That means why these integuments are there, what is the role of this, what is this region called as, and so on. So tell me, what is this region called as? This region is your
Micropyle.
other name of micropyle, you might have read it in your books somewhere, or pores. We call the micropyle as the pores. These are otherwise called as pores. Okay. Now again, I've just specified this much of the ovule structure. Now from this information, can you answer the first question again? Micropiles are otherwise called as pores. Okay. Now from this information only, please answer the first question again. Entry of pollen tube through micropyle is
Porogamy.
porogamy. Okay. Entry of pollen tube through micropyle is called as porogamy. Remember, pores means micropyle. So word related is porogamy. Yeah. Now let us understand what is chalazogamy, mesogamy, and pseudogamy. Switching over to this. Now, if whenever we locate this end is the micropyle, then this region. These are regions, okay? These are not proper demarcations are there. These top regions, the opposite of micropyle, the opposite region of micropyle, we call it as chalaza. Micropyle and chalaza. These are opposite to each other. If you see your NCERT book, in this particular chapter, you shall get confused which is micropyle, which is chalaza, because in every which in that chapter, wherever ovule representation is there, somewhere the micropyle is the lower portion, chalaza is the upper portion, and somewhere it is the other way around. Okay, so you have to always locate one, and micropyle is easy to locate. So always locate micropyle first, and then you switch over to the chalaza. The opposite, the very opposite is called chalaza. Clear? This much you are clear? So now, this is the pollen. Okay, this structure is the pollen. So the pollen has to drop the male gametes inside the ovule. There is something present. What is that called as? Inside the ovule, the eggs are present in this blue structure. What shall I denote it as? You all are enjoying your lockdown, not studying. We call it as the embryo sac. Now, again, let me first talk about the structure of the embryo sac. I'm just drawing the structure of the embryo sac. Okay, in the embryo sac also, this region, the bottom region, we are denoting it as the micropyle, and the top region is your chalaza, right? So embryo sac, if you can recall, is called 7-celled, 8-nucleated structure. It is called 7-celled, 8-nucleated structure. Okay. Now, what are the cells located in the chalaza region? I'm just giving you a hint. I have 3 cells located in chalaza. 3 cells located towards the micropyle, and 1 cell in the center. It is up to you to label them. These cells, the cells of the embryo cell. So 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 cells, but how many nucleus? In this central cell, we call it as the central cell. Okay, I gave you 1. We call it as the central cell. In this central cell, we have 2 nucleus. That is why it is 8-nucleated. Okay. So otherwise we call it, if we call the cell, then cell ke aspect mein we will call it as the central cell. And if there is nucleus, then nucleus ke aspect mein we shall call it as the secondary nucleus. So these are the nucleus with whom one of the sperm fertilizes to produce the endosperm. Here. Now what are these cells? 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. What are these cells? And why is this particular middle cell is different from these 2 cells? Yes. Srilekha, anyone?
Antipodals.
Antipodal cells. Good. Always remember, cells towards the chalazal end. These are called your antipodal cells. Likewise, bottom cells, this one and this one. These 2 are your
Synergids.
cells. And this is your egg cell. Okay, egg is always larger than the tube. Egg is always larger than the tube. Synergids larger, and together the synergid and egg cell we call it as which one? Like I told last class also, you have to be very thorough with your NCERT book. 95% questions come from NCERT book, and the questions are a bit easier. Since the last 2 years, the questions are easier. So if you are thorough with your book, then you have a chance. So tell me, eggs and synergids. One egg plus one egg plus 2 synergid is equal to, these are called as egg apparatus. Forgotten? Together, egg plus 2 synergids. We together call it as the egg apparatus. Here, you have to recall. Okay. So, what happens now here? Let me just draw it here. I have the egg here. I'm just drawing the egg. Okay, synergy here. Here synergy. These are the antipodal cells and center cell person. Okay, so this structure, this ovule structure is here. This is the structure of the ovule. Now, pollen is here. This pollen has to reach to the ovule. Okay. Now in this part, I have two questions for you. How this pollen grain reaches to the ovule? Now again, two more questions. Formation, write the question. Okay. You want me to write? The formation of pollen tube is one, chemotropic, two, phototropic, geotropic, या D, barotropic. Tell me, the formation of pollen tube is chemotropic, phototropic, geotropic, or barotropic. First, define these terms. Photo means light. Tropic means it's kind of a stimulus. So something that pulls. Okay, this is kind of a pulling movement. So something that is attracting the pollen tube to come inwards. So what is that something? Is it the light, gravity, chemicals, or pressure? Chemotropic, phototropic, geotropic, barotropic. Baro is pressure, geo is your gravity, photo is light, chemo is chemical. So this pollen tube, this is the pollen. Tube is not a form. This is the pollen. Now a tube is being formed, and this inward movement of the tube has to reach to the ovule through this side, right? So this inward movement of the tube is what? Chemo, photo, geo, or barotropic? Anyone who can answer? Aditya, Pratyashri, Deepali. One, I will musical name. I will name number 192891. Those who are interacting, answer. Chintu. Is it because of light, the movement of the pollen tube takes place? Is it because of the gravity takes place or pressure or what? It is because of the chemicals. It is because of the nutrition, the style. Style is the region through which the pollen tube will come. So in this style, the chemicals attract the pollen tube to climb downwards towards the ovary and into the ovule. Towards the ovary and into the ovule. Okay, so this is the chemical movement. Because of the chemicals, the pollen tube belong there. Clear? Remember, note down this one. Whatever points I am saying and you are not aware of it, just write it down. I do not have to tell you to write it down. Okay. Anything you want me to repeat, I can repeat. So this is your chemotropic. Clear? Next. Now I said these are the chemicals which are responsible for the pollen tube formation. My next question is, what are those chemicals? My next question, I'm writing it in a different page. Which element? This is your mineral nutrition chapter. Botany means everything is interrelated. So we don't have any specific chapters. So everything is interrelated. So which element is responsible for pollen germination? Which element is responsible for pollen germination? Option A, calcium. Option B, manganese. C, magnesium. D, boron. Tell me. Who shall answer me? Calcium, manganese, magnesium, boron.
Ma'am,
What's the
calcium. Ma'am, boron.
Okay, who said calcium? One said calcium. Calcium was a very enthusiastic answer. So who said calcium?
Sir, Lygia. Lygia Rani
Yeah.
Sahu.
Yeah. Then who said boron?
Ma'am, Srilekha.
Priyanka, was that you or Devasmita?
Ma'am, ionic elements, boron, calcium, both.
Boron is the answer. Okay. In your practical book, these things are in your practical. This is your experiment, na? If your school, if you had been to school for the practical activities, then this is the first major experiment that always comes in your book. So you break the pollens, right? With the help of the pen के पीछे से या नीचे के पीछे से tap it, glass slide के ऊपर you tap it, and when you break it, the tubes form, right? So you put certain chemicals, and these are composed of, no doubt, calcium and boron. Calcium is as such required for your plants. Okay, no doubt about it. But it is the boron that is responsible for pollen germination. Pollen germination simply means this is the pollen, the tube coming out of it. If the pollen is developing the tube, then we call it as the pollen germination. The element responsible is boron. So in your style portion, your style should be having maximum amount of boron. Okay. Now see, this particular question only I'm slightly modifying. Question is same, but options I'm changing. So which elements are responsible for pollen germination. 1. Calcium. 2. Boron. 3. Manganese. 4. Magnesium. Now your options. 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, or 2, or all. Okay. So this is how your question comes. Now this is how the questions are being modified. The mudda of the question is okay, same, but here the options are being different. Now here what shall you pick up? You know the answer is we should go with this. Okay. Calcium.
1,2.
Difference between
Calcium
question.
boron.
Yes, this is calcium boron because we just discussed this. So these all are we shall ignore. But why are we not picking out calcium here? Here in this question, calcium and boron are correct. But in this case, calcium is not correct. If you pick on calcium, it is wrong. You shall not get any marks. It will be a -5. Okay, negative हो जाएगा. But if you click on boron, your answer is correct. So why we are not counting calcium here? Can you say? Calcium we are not counting here. Why? Remember, these are certain tips for entrance. Pick the most specific option. If boron had not been given and beryllium had been given, then your calcium is correct. But if boron is there, then if you are clicking on calcium, then that is wrong and boron is correct because the primary requirement for pollen germination is boron. If there is less amount of calcium, then we might have a deformed pollen tube. Okay, pollen tube should be long. It should be long and elongated. But suppose if calcium is there is deficiency of calcium or something, then we might have a short pollen tube. But we will have a pollen tube because boron is present. But if boron is not at all present and we have calcium only, then the pollen tube will not at all go. So which is more apt? See, I am calling you a human. I am calling Lisa a human is more appropriate. Or I am calling Lisa a girl is more appropriate. Which is correct? Pick one. We have only one option to be picked. And that is girl because she is a girl. Being more specific, right? Same here. So always see you have given many tests and you know all the options they all feel like everything is correct. All the options seem like everything is correct, right? But always certain are wrong. And this is the okay. Okay. Here, okay, to make you a bit relax here, I'm giving you another question. This was a question. Um, it was coming. It had come in MHC once. MHCT Maharashtra Common Entrance Test. Okay. So the question had come. DNA fingerprinting. It can come in entrance. NCRT NEET entrance no issue. DNA fingerprinting evolved due to application of DNA fingerprinting evolved due to application of A. Mechanical engineering. B. Electrical engineering. C. Information technology. Yeah, D. Genetic engineering. DNA fingerprinting evolved due to application of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, information technology, yeah, genetic engineering. What shall you answer?
Genetic engineering.
Everyone, genetic engineering.
Yes, ma'am.
Engineering.
I was discussing this with my very senior old colleagues in Maharashtra. Okay, and they went for this information technology. What was the logic behind them? Yes, genetic is correct. But they said, they argued with me why it is not the information technology. Because they said information means your writing, your computer sector. Genetic engineering evolved due to information technology. That's true. Because if there had been no computers, no systems and all, then genetic engineering would not have evolved. So they were saying the correct answer, they were arguing, not saying, they were arguing correct answer would have been information technology. Now, keeping this way of arguing, I can then say the correct answer would be mechanical engineering. Because if mechanical would not have been present, then electrical would not have been present. Electrical नहीं होता तो information नहीं होता तो genetic नहीं होता. So if you go by this logic, then your correct answer should be mechanical engineering. But is it the correct answer? Everyone know the correct answer is genetic engineering. You know at least, so you are wise enough to teach them. So this is genetic engineering, right? Why? This is the most specific. We did not discover DNA fingerprinting because of mechanical or electrical or information. IT निकला तो DNA fingerprinting नहीं निकला. It is only because genetic engineering निकला, उसके बाद ही we got the DNA fingerprinting technology, right? So that is why always remember, you have to always pick the most specific answer. Yeah. So I gave you two questions from the entry of pollen tube to the ovule, right? There is another question, one more question, entrance point of view. I'm discussing only entrance point of view questions, okay? The other question is, this is like true or false, SSM reason. I'm just giving you a statement, you just say if it is correct or not. Pollen germination upon stigma is referred, is referred as siphonogamy. True or false? Pollen germination upon stigma is referred as siphonogamy. Siphonogamy. This is true or false? This is in your NCERT book. This word siphonogamy is in your NCERT book. So if you are saying true, you explain why true. If you are saying false, explain why false. SSM reason comes. They don't put SSM reason, but they put statement 1 and statement 2. So fill in the blanks, aspect, true or false aspect questions also we shall be dealing with. So pollen germination is referred as siphonogamy. What do you mean by this term? Siphonogamy, siphon. English. How strong are you in English? Word siphon. means siphon means bulana, calling. I am calling out to you. I am siphoning you, but you all are not responding to me. So, what shall I say? You are non-siphonogamous. When you are responding to my calling out, then I shall call you as siphonogamous. Okay. So pollen germination, answer is true. Always remember, pollen germination upon stigma is referred to as siphonogamy. Why siphonogamy? Siphon means, like I said, bulana. So here what happens, this tube formation will only take place when the chemicals present in the style fall out to it. Whenever style is rich in boron, calcium, etc., so it will attract the pollen tube. So it is like what? Attraction means it is pollen tube is coming towards it. So this is what called siphonogamy. This thing, this chemicals present here in this pathway, it is calling out the pollen tube to come out and emerge, and that is called as a siphonogamy. Understood, everyone? Everyone? Now, our first question, the foundation question, from which we will be discussing all these questions. So we had the term, you now know the answer is porogamy. So here, the movement entry of the pollen tube into the ovary and into the ovule is through chalazogamy, porogamy, mesogamy. We had three, right? So let me just redraw it again. This is the micropyle end. This is the chalaza end. I have the antipodal cells. And these are your synergids and exits. Okay. So from here, from your tip, the pollen tube is entering, and the pollen tube is having what? Here, two male gametes. And there is one more cell. What is this cell called? If I say these two are your sperms or your male gamete, then this particular cell, which contributes to the movement or elongation of the pollen tube, then this cell is called as, these are sperms. Then this is called as, hurry up, it's called as, forgotten. Next class also I shall be discussing this chapter only. So please read it come. I shall discuss apomixis also. Okay. That's the part I know you had not understood. I know. No one understood that. So this part, this cell is called as your vegetative cell. Other name is
Tube cell.
tube cell. Why it is named tube cell? Because it contributes in the pollen tube formation. Now, here in this part, again another question. The growth of pollen tube is apical, lateral, subapical, yeah, all of this. Growth of pollen tube is apical, lateral, subapical, yeah, all of this. What do you understand by this? Let's answer this. I just discussed. We have the vegetative cell, there is, or the tube cell that contributes to the pollen tube formation. Okay. I can also modify the question. The growth of pollen tube due to the tube cell is this. Apical, lateral, subapical, या all of this. Boys, Aditya, you were answering last class. What happened today? So, and who is that musical person? What's his name? Music में नाम लिखा है. Okay, Lisa, give me the answer. Apical. Any other answers?
Apical. Apical.
Apical. Yes. Apical is the correct answer. Apical means what? Tip. This is your tip. Okay. तो pollen tube टिप से मूवमेंट होता है ना, टिप से ग्रो करता है ना, और ज्यादा इलोंगेट होगा तो क्या होगा? टिप से होगा. From the tip. So this is called as an apical. Similar question related to this. Your hair growth, is it apical or basal? I have two terms, apical / basal. These are opposites. If tip से movement हो रहा है, मतलब तुम्हारे hair का क्या tip है? This is the tip. अगर tip से growth होता है, so you shall call it as the apical. और अगर base मतलब scalp, right? जहाँ पे वो root है इसका, वहाँ से growth होता है, then you call it as the basal. B-A-S-A-L, basal. So what is the growth of your hair? Apical or basal? You should be knowing. You are very much conscious about your hairs and all. You should be answering with this. Girls or boys who are conscious. Come on.
Ma'am, basal.
Basal. Your hair root. I just gave the answer while discussing. Roots are present in your scalp, na? So hair goes from the roots. वहाँ से elongate होके it comes out, right? अगर hair टिप से, मतलब यहाँ पे जो तुम्हारा टिप है, अगर टिप से ग्रो होता तो तुम बोलते हैं एपिकल, but it hair grows from the base, that is a basal. Yeah. Okay. Now switching, coming back to this topic, so our pollen tube growth is apical in nature, and that is due to the vegetative cell or the tube cell. Now behind this vegetative cell are the two sperms, and what are the specific names of these two sperms? These other names of the sperm in case of these angiosperms, these are called as generative cell, right? Yeah, there pollen grain consists of two cells, generative cell and vegetative cell. So how shall you not get confused between the two? Generative, go by the English meaning. Generative means generating something. So generate कौन करेगा? Gametes ही करेगा ना. So your sperms are called as your generative cell. Vegetative means, vegetative is the other name of somatic. Okay. In plants, in animals we use the term somatic, but in plants we basically use the term vegetative. So somatic functions is pollen tube growth is a somatic function. So this is because of this vegetative cell. But sperms are your reproductive sperm functions. So these are called as your generative cell. Clear? Now I'm erasing all this. Okay. Generative cell. Let me clean this up a bit. So coming back to our first question. If this is the chalazyme, this is the micropylene. If pollen tube enters from like this, if pollen tube enters the embryo sac from this end, from the chalaza end, then we call it as the chalazogamy.
Chalagamy.
Here, write it down. If pollen tube enters the ovary or ovule, because these are the regions, these are the two poles, like North Pole and South Pole. So this is the chalazal pole, and down is your micropylar pole. We name it as chalazal pole, POL. And bottom मत बोलना, you say pore, जहाँ पे pore है, opening है, मतलब integuments are not continuous. That end is called as micropylar pole. Okay. So if pollen tube enters from the chalaza end, then that is called as chalazogamy. If pollen tube enters from sideways, like this, from this side or this side, then this is called as mesogamy. We call it as mesogamy. And if pollen tube is always here. Okay, top में होता है. Then if pollen tube enters through this end, then this ऐसे curve करके पूरा micropyle synergids वहाँ से if it is entering, then we call it as porogamy. Clear? Understood now what is chalazogamy, mesogamy, and porogamy? You ignore the word pseudogamy. Pseudogamy was just given to confuse you. Okay, but we have only 3 words in your entrance syllabus. So we have chalazogamy from the chalazan end, mesogamy from the sideways, lateral sides, and porogamy from the micropylar end. So coming back to our that question. So now you are done with the answer. Entry of pollen tube through micropyle. If I change this question, entry of pollen tube through chalaza, then your answer will be chalazogamy. Clear?
Chalazogamy.
Any doubt? Are you asking any doubt? Now, come to 5. You answer me this, please. Which one of the following is a fruit? Ginger, radish, sweet potato, lady's finger. Ginger, radish, sweet potato, lady's finger. Which is a fruit? You know what is a fruit? What is a fruit? The result of double fertilization or sexual reproduction, that is a fruit, right? So, hurry up. This is a very easy question. Which is a fruit? Ginger, radish, sweet potato, lady's finger. So, I'm not giving entrance. You are giving entrance. So, hurry up. Hurry up, we should move to other questions. What is ginger? First tell me. Where do you find ginger? How is it grown? Have some interest in plants. You are alive because of the plants. If plant kingdom would not have been there, animal would not have been in existence. So know the basics. What is ginger? Where do you find ginger is grown? Ginger is a plant.
is a rhizome.
Ginger is a, yes. Once again, ginger is a
Rhizome.
ginger is a rhizome. Okay. Lisa, your answer is wrong. Sweet potato is not the correct answer. Ginger is a rhizome. And what is rhizome? Ginger is a rhizome. But what is rhizome? You give me a new term. Rhizome. Okay, Lisa, you are going for every picking every option. give me a new term or rhizome. What is rhizome? Acha, what are the terms, associated terms of rhizomes? Rhizome के साथ और क्या क्या terms जानते हो? There are rhizome, there is tuber,
Offset,
bulb,
sucker,
pop, offset, sucker, or one disturbance. Yes. Rhizome, tuber, bulb, form, offset, sucker, and runner. Prolong. Anything else? These are what are these structures I'm talking about? These are what structures? These are your vegetative propagules. See your first chapter, 12th first chapter, or you can see your morphology chapter, 11th morphology chapter. In morphology chapters, these things are not at all described properly, but these things are described in your practical book. In both the chapters, no proper description is there. It's just the word is given, a certain examples are given, and that's it. But in your practical book, complete description is there, and this is in your syllabus, not CBSE but your entrance syllabus. So this is one set of group, and this is another set of group. So what are these? These are vegetative propagules. Okay. Coming back to this, for you, question for you. In a plant, pick out the vegetative organs. Multiple choice answer. Okay. Root, stem, leaf, flower. Who are the vegetative organs? Plants have vegetative and reproductive organs. Okay. There are two types of organs in plants. So who are the vegetative and who are the reproductive? Out of this four, pick fast. Hurry up. Hurry up, bachcho. This is a simple question. See, I'm saying once again. Last year, 2020, 2019, NEET, those were very, very easy questions. So if going by this trend, 2021 might be the same also. And you know, many students last year, unexpected students also did perform well. So you also have a chance. So, but these are basic questions, and if you will not be able to answer the basics, then how shall I enter deep into that? If you answer this, then only I can discuss about these structures. So what is vegetative, what is reproductive?
Ma'am, vegetative is root, stem, leaf, and reproductive is flower.
The root, stem, leaf are vegetative. Means from here we can undergo asexual reproduction. We propagate plants by generally cutting what? Root, stem, leaf. But if we put seed से जब एक plant उगाते हो, then that is a reproductive part. Flower is a reproductive part. Fruit is a reproductive part. Why? Because flower contains the male and female reproductive organ. This is the symbol for female, and this is the symbol for male. Males teda. Okay, this is the teda. and this is the straight. These are the symbols for male and female. So as reproductive part is the flower, so when they fuse together, they form the fruit, and inside the fruit you have the seed. So these are your reproductive organs, right? So root, stem, and leaf, these are meant for asexual mode of reproduction, and that is called as what? Vegetative propagation in plants. So keeping that in mind, these all are your vegetative propagules. मतलब we use the structures for propagation. Here, now you said rhizome, ginger. Ginger is a kind of rhizome. Give me this answer. What is this rhizome? This is a modification of what? This is a question that comes. Rhizome is a modification of what? Root, stem, leaf, or flower. Same options. Okay. Rhizome is a modification of what? Root, stem, leaf, or flower.
Stem.
Next question. Rhizome is a modification of underground stem, carparian stem, aerial stem, now pick. Yes, your answer is correct. This stem. But pick now. Underground stem, subaerial stem, aerial stem. Yeah, no, this. Now say. So you are typing. Okay. Say. This first set, rhizome, tuber, bulb, form, these are categorized under underground stem. These are your underground stem modification. What is tuber? Give me an example of tuber. You know
Potato.
this.
Potato.
Potato. Bulb. Bulb. You know this, you eat it
Garlic.
daily.
Garlic.
And
Onion.
do you know what corn is? Its example is colocasia. Okay. Now, let me erase this. Rhizome, tuber, bulb, corm. These are the types of the underground stem. Now, this last bit, this last four categories, these are types of, you can strike out none of this. Now, subaerial or aerial? Subaerial means if this is the soil level, then slightly 2 inch below the soil and 2 inch of the soil. So this entire 2 inch plus or minus soil, this region is called as your subaerial stem. Completely above the soil level is your aerial stem, but this is called as your subaerial stem. So these are categories of subaerial stem modification. Okay, we'll talk about this later. Now let us discuss about this tuber. So now this is a stem. Stem has entered downwards underground the soil, and now it is branched into pollen structures, and these are your which one? Table. This is underground stem, and the stem is swollen. And if it is swollen, what is the other name to represent it? Swollen means fleshy. Why is it swollen? Because food is stored in it. And what is the food? Carbohydrates. These are all basically carbohydrates. So food is stored in it. So this is swollen. Otherwise we call it as the fleshy or edible portion. These are the portions that you eat, right? So this is the edible portion. So this is an example of what? Rhizome, tuber, bulb, or pod. What did I draw here? Out of this four, I'm not talking about this four right now. Out of this four, what did I draw here? It is for you to label. That is one diagram I did. Next, this is another stem, and this is its fruit. This last swollen structures are its fruit. Now what is this? There's slight difference between these two. But what is it? This is one. Next, last swollen structure is this. This you can answer it. This you can answer it. Answer with this three. Is it which one is rhizome, tuber, bulb, pod? Which is what? To notify this image properly, I'm just zooming it. This is the image. This is this image. Now this is something horizontal. This organ. This is something horizontal, uneven. And this is completely irregular. This is completely irregular. So now at least tell me, who is what? Who is rhizome, tuber, bulb, come? Come on. This is your. I gave the structures now. Potato. What is its shape? Irregular. This will come tuberous or tuber. That means you will understand having irregular shape, and that is the potato. If you focus here, the stems, these are the stems, underground stems. These are angular. The stem, something is horizontal, something is slanting, something is straight, going straight down. So these are angular. But every product here, this is horizontal. These all are horizontal. And these are this. And this is your rhizome. Your ginger, that is horizontal, na? This is your rhizome. And this is last. Tunicated. We call this as the tunicated. This is your bulb. Okay, right? So we have tuber, rhizome, and bulb. Now tell me, if I ask you to define rhizome, what shall you give me the definition as? Chintu, try. You are silent from a long time. If I ask you to define rhizome, what shall you tell me as? Rhizomes are underground stem modifications which are swollen, fleshy, and they grow horizontally. The rhizomes, they grow horizontally. Difference between rhizome and corm is that corm is vertically. If you draw corms, then if this is the underground stem, then these are the branchings, these are the side branchings. Then corms, these are like this always. They are swollen and these are always like this. They grow vertically. This is a difference between your rhizome and corm. Corm grows vertically, whereas rhizomes grow horizontally. Clear? Write this point. Next. Understood about ginger? Tuber means irregular, and bulb means this. You can call it conical. Basically, these are not carrot-like conical, but these are swollen conical, ovular conical. Okay, or specifically we use the term as tunicated. Tunicated. Remember this. So, coming back to your question, ginger, is it a fruit? We just discussed that it is a fruit modification, stem modification, another stem modification. So this is not the answer. Then next, sweet potato. Lisa, you first gave me the answer sweet potato. But sweet potato is again wrong here. Sweet potato is not a fruit. Fruit means what? See, in this, the essence of this question is fruit is given. That means sexual reproduction is occurring here. Fruit is the result of sexual reproduction, na? And if fruit is given, then this is a result of sexual reproduction, right? So, correct answer is what? Lady's finger, bhindi. Bhindi नहीं देखा, bhindi के plant, the flower of your lady's finger plant. Okay, that is very yellowish with a velvety stigma and all. It grows from the flower, whereas your sweet potato, radish, these are what? These are root modifications. Ginger, this is stem modification. Whereas ladies, with all ginger, sweet potato, radish, these are all asexual mode of reproduction, or these are the results of asexual reproduction. But your lady's finger is a result of sexual mode of reproduction. So this is what I'm talking about. In this particular question, no sexual or asexual reproduction is mentioned, but the word fruit is given. So you have to connect it. When fruit word is given, so you have to connect it. Yes, this is a result of sexual mode of reproduction. So here you have to pick out which is the result of sexual reproduction. And we know that these three, A, B, and C, these are the results of your asexual mode of reproduction. So be it your stem, root, leaf, etc. But these are propagated asexually. But only lady's finger is propagated sexually. So we call it as, so this is a kind of a fruit. What is fruit? When flowers, the male and female gametes fertilize, then from the zygote, and they are that is how they grow into the fruit, right? The ovary converts into the fruit. So this is that. Lady's finger is an example of fruit. Okay. Okay. Any doubts for today? We discussed, I guess you might have counted how many questions, more than, I guess, 10 around questions we discussed today, right? And these are the two main questions from which we discuss the other questions, right? So you always, for theory, in the same notebook only, make theory a separate page and questions a separate page. But they should be on both the same sides, okay? So if a theory part that you are not aware of, you can write it down. But questions, whatever I discussed today, all those questions, that is must for you to remember. Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts for today? If not, we can stop the class. Okay then. Okay. Thank you.